The Galactic Council had never known silence like this. Even in their grand chamber, filled with representatives from 100 civilizations, the usual murmurs, negotiations, and polite debates had vanished. All that remained was the soft, persistent glow of the approaching human ships. They floated outside the capital system like silent sentinels, smooth and elegant, each vessel reflecting light as if it had been shaped from pure energy itself. Ambassador Leon Carter stepped forward from the bridge of the largest human ship. Her blue eyes scanned the council chamber through the quantum communication network. She did not smile. She did not boast. She simply observed. For decades, humans had prepared for this moment, not for revenge, but for clarity. "We have returned," she said. Her voice was calm, even gentle, yet every syllable carried a weight that could not be ignored. "You thought we were gone. You believed our defeat was final. You were wrong." Archon Vear's claws trembled as he listened. He had orchestrated humanity's isolation, believing it would end their influence forever, and yet here they were. A civilization that had vanished from the galaxy returning with power beyond imagination. The Council's systems, built on human-designed infrastructure, were faltering. Lights flickered, holograms stuttered, and communications hesitated. The galaxy itself seemed to respond to humanity's arrival. Counselor Thal of the Dreth Union, usually serene and unflappable, whispered in disbelief, "They did not leave. They were never defeated. They have only become something greater." Carter continued, her voice calm but firm. "We did not return for conquest. We did not return for vengeance. We have learned to survive, to adapt, and to think beyond limits you could not imagine. We are here to offer cooperation, knowledge, and a new way forward. But make no mistake, our presence changes the rules." The Council struggled to process her words. The humans had transformed themselves, merging consciousness with their ships, creating a network of minds that thought faster than any artificial intelligence. Every ship, every human was connected, acting with precision, intelligence, and coordination that the galaxy had never seen. Archon Vear swallowed hard. "And if we refuse?" he asked, though the answer was already evident. The Council's influence depended on infrastructure, on technology, on the very networks that humans now controlled. The galaxy was built atop human innovation, and that foundation had returned stronger than ever. Carter's eyes softened, though her voice remained resolute. "Then you will watch as we move beyond you. The galaxy is vast and there are regions even you do not control. We have the means to thrive without your consent, but we prefer peace. We prefer cooperation. That is what makes us human." A murmur passed through the chamber. Diplomats exchanged glances, realizing the truth. The human strength was not in weapons, not in aggression, but in resilience, intelligence, and unity. They had been underestimated for centuries, and that underestimation had been their greatest advantage. The Council had always believed in balance, in careful management of power. But they had failed to see that human balance was not static. It evolved, it adapted, and now it had returned. Carter turned her gaze to the largest holographic display, showing every human vessel, every network node, every mind linked across the void. "We were forced to retreat, yes, but in retreat we learned. In isolation we became stronger. We returned not to dominate, but to guide, to share, and to remind the galaxy of the value of persistence, creativity, and hope." For a long moment, the chamber was silent. Then slowly counselors began to speak, not with fear but with a new respect. Discussions of trade, diplomacy, and cooperation replaced the panic that had filled the room. The humans had arrived and the galaxy was listening. Archon Vear finally spoke, his voice quieter than usual. "Perhaps we have underestimated what it means to endure." Carter nodded, her expression serene. "Endurance is only the beginning. Creation, adaptation, and unity follow. That is what we offer. That is what we are." Outside the chamber, the stars seemed to shine differently. The human ships glided silently through space, their light touching every corner of the capital system. It was not a display of power in the conventional sense, it was a reminder, a message that the galaxy could not ignore. Humanity had survived, adapted, and returned stronger than ever. And as the Council absorbed the truth, the humans prepared for the next step, not war, not revenge, but a new chapter in the galaxy's story. One written not by fear, but by curiosity, intelligence, and the unyielding spirit of a species that refused to be defeated. For the first time in centuries, the galaxy looked toward Earth and wondered not what humanity would do next, but what they had already become. The Galactic Council had never smiled more broadly than that morning. Their chamber stretched across kilometers of polished crystal, filled with light that danced from the floating orbs of every star system. Representatives of every known civilization hovered in their assigned spaces, murmuring in alien tongues, their faces painted with relief and pride. Today, they told each other, was the day order had returned to the galaxy. Humans were gone. For centuries, humanity had spread across the stars faster than any other species. Their curiosity was legendary, their ambition unmatched. They built cities that floated in the clouds of gas giants, created ships that could travel through lightless voids, and traded ideas and technology across thousands of worlds. But they had also made enemies. Old civilizations, patient and careful, had watched the human rise with a mixture of awe and unease. Then the silent war began. It was not a war of guns or bombs, but one of strategy and control. The Council had slowly closed trade routes to human colonies, isolated them from allies, and quietly spread doubt about their intentions. Human influence, once vibrant and ever-growing, shrank under the careful, calculated pressure of older, more established powers. One by one, human outposts disappeared from the maps, their communications severed. When the last signal vanished, the Council celebrated. Humanity, they thought, had finally been tamed. Archon Vayar, a tall and proud Cathari, raised a clawed hand in salute to the chamber. The Cathari were an insectoid species, their long spindly limbs moving with elegant precision. Vayar's voice echoed, full of satisfaction. "Let it be recorded," he said, "that the Terran rebellion has ended. Their homeworld is silent. Their colonies are shadows. The galaxy can breathe again." Around him, other counselors nodded, some openly smiling, others murmuring congratulatory phrases. Among them was Counselor Thal of the Dreth Union, an elder with smooth silver skin and eyes that glimmered like calm water. Thal's expression was serene, almost serene enough to be mistaken for neutrality, but the subtle curve of his mouth betrayed a deep satisfaction. To him, the human's disappearance was a sign that balance had been restored. Outside the chamber, the galaxy moved as it always had. Trade continued. Light years of travel carried goods and messages, and stars burned on, and yet somewhere beyond the reach of the Council's maps, humanity still existed, in the vast dark expanse known as the Perseus Void. Beyond the regions charted and monitored by the Council, humans had retreated. They did not fight openly, they did not seek war, but they had survived. The void was dangerous, filled with unstable stars, drifting debris, and regions where even light struggled to pass. For humans, it was perfect. They had no one to impress here, no one to fear, only space itself and their ingenuity. On one of the void's many hidden planets, Ambassador Leon Carter walked through a quiet laboratory. The walls were sleek and silver, lined with panels that pulsed softly with blue light. Around her, humans moved with calm purpose, tending to machines and devices that seemed impossible to any other civilization. Carter herself was small in stature, but her presence carried weight. Her eyes, the color of a clear afternoon sky, held a sharpness that made her colleagues pause. She did not need to raise her voice for people to listen. "We are ready," she said softly, though the words were meant only for herself. The humans had waited for this moment for decades. The galaxy thought them defeated, but in truth, they had been learning, adapting, and growing stronger in ways no one could predict. Carter looked at a display showing hundreds of human vessels scattered across the void, each one connected to the others through a network of communication faster than light. It was not just ships, they were extensions of human minds, vessels in which thought and strategy flowed together as one. Humans had discovered a new way to exist in the galaxy, a way that relied not on domination or brute force, but on intelligence, cooperation, and creativity. Back in the Galactic Council chamber, celebrations continued. A holographic display showed the silent Earth, the abandoned colonies, and the empty trade lanes. The counselors laughed quietly at the old stories of human stubbornness, the tales of their daring exploration and reckless ambition. None of them suspected that the humans were watching, planning, and preparing their return. Then, the first signal arrived. It was faint, almost lost among the constant stream of galactic communications, but it carried a clarity that could not be mistaken. "You thought we were gone," You should have looked up. The words repeated, broadcast in the oldest Terran English, the language of Earth, crisp and clear. Silence fell over the chamber. The holographic displays flickered as the council scrambled to understand. Many looked around in disbelief. Some whispered that it must be a trick, a technical error or a hoax. But the words had a weight, an undeniable certainty. Within hours, deep space probes reported the anomaly. Something was emerging from the uncharted Perseus void. Something that did not match any known technology, any known design. Ships were appearing, glowing with a soft, controlled light, sleek and curved in ways no alien hand could have conceived. They moved without sound, without the chaotic energy signature of conventional engines. Archon Veyer rose from his place, his claws tightening in a gesture that might have been anger or fear. "What is this?" he demanded. His voice, usually steady and confident, carried a tremor. "It is human," Counselor Thal admitted, though his voice was quieter than usual. The words seemed to taste foreign in his mouth. The chamber fell into confusion. Alerts rang across every system connected to the Council's network. Screens flickered and blinked with the approaching vessels. Each human ship displayed a single message across every channel simultaneously, repeating the same words over and over. "We are here to talk." The counselors laughed nervously at first. Surely a handful of survivors could not threaten centuries of power, experience, and influence. Surely this was a symbolic gesture, a relic of a species long thought gone. But as the hours passed, systems began to fail. Not weapons, not defenses, but networks, communications, and sensors. The Council's own technology, built atop human designs and innovations, faltered inexplicably. Lights flickered. Holograms disappeared and reappeared with strange distortions. Every attempt to regain control was met with subtle, precise interference, and still, the human vessels continued their approach, silent, confident, and impossible to ignore. In the midst of the confusion, Counselor Thal stared at the largest human ship, a structure that looked almost alive. Its surface smooth and glowing with a light that seemed to pulse in rhythm with thought itself. "They are not coming to fight," he murmured. "They are coming to remind us." Archon Veyar's mind raced. He had orchestrated humanity's isolation, believed he had ensured their defeat, and yet here they were, not as victims, not as supplicants, but as equals, perhaps even as superiors in ways he could not yet comprehend. The humans had taken the time the Council had given them and transformed it into power beyond imagination. On Earth, or what remained of it, Ambassador Carter watched the Council's panic unfold through the network. She did not smile. She did not celebrate. The humans had no desire for vengeance, no need to prove superiority. They had waited, and now they were present. Their return was not about war. It was about showing the galaxy that resilience, creativity, and intelligence could not be crushed. Carter turned to her colleagues, her voice calm and unwavering. "They will watch, they will listen, and they will understand. The galaxy believes it has defeated us, but in truth it has only delayed our arrival. Now we are here." The Council, still reeling from the sudden disruption, could not yet comprehend what it meant. All they knew was that the species they had written off, the humans they had deemed broken, were arriving in force, and that arrival alone had changed everything. As the first human ship hovered silently outside the capital system, a soft hum filled the chamber. Not a sound of engines, not a noise of destruction, but a presence that could be felt in every corner of the Council's domain. Every hologram, every probe, every monitor reflected the same simple emblem, a blue planet surrounded by light. The message was clear, though unspoken. Humanity had returned, and the Council, despite its centuries of power and control, realized that the galaxy would never be the same again. The humans were coming, not for war, not for conquest, but to show the galaxy that they had survived, and in their survival they had grown beyond expectation. The chamber fell silent. Every counselor stared at the approaching ships, unsure of what to do next. The lesson of the humans was already clear. Never underestimate a species that refuses to give up, that continues to think, to innovate, and to hope, even when the galaxy believes it has been defeated. And somewhere in the void, beyond the edge of known space, humanity waited, ready to step back into the light.